Hey everyone, I hope that you all had a great week this week. This week Congress was back in session. It was great to be home during the month of August. Had meetings across the district, which was outstanding. Constituent meetings, people in all of the offices, from the VA office to North Palm Beach and Stewart and Port St. Lucie, visiting our medical centers, our businesses, everything across the district. It was an outstanding time to be back and just be with everybody, enjoy the Labor Day holiday with everybody, and see people around town. In that, I want to talk about a couple of the bills and things that have gone on throughout the month, beginning with this. Last month I introduced a bill known as the Harmful Algal Bloom and Hypoxia Research and Control Act. Now, to vote, this bill was specifically done to devote more federal resources to help the communities impacted by harmful algal blooms and require a plan to reduce harmful algal blooms in the Everglades region. We're part of that Everglades region. This bill is critical to delivering the federal resources that we need in our community to end this environmental disaster when this strikes. Now, we also held a meeting on August 17th. Probably many of you were present for this meeting. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, South Florida Water Management District, the Department of the Interior, and many more. They were all on hand to talk about the need to lower Lake Okeechobee levels during the dry season. When we talk about lowering Lake Okeechobee levels during the dry season, we're saying after hurricane season ends, so December, January, February, March, April, that time that they have where they can send discharges to the south, send discharges to other places other than to our East Coast estuary there on the Treasure Coast, so that hopefully they can get several feet ahead of schedule before they get into the next hurricane season, and we don't have the need to get those discharges coming into our area. Now, when you're dealing with an issue like this, there's a lot of people to overcome, and the reason why there's a lot of people to overcome in dealing with something like this is because what I find is that pretty much everybody that is not the Treasure Coast and not the people that are out at the end of the Caloosahatchee, everybody outside of that is happy with the status quo. Everybody else to the north of Lake Okeechobee, everybody else to the south of Lake Okeechobee are getting everything that they want. All the nutrients that flow in along the Kissimmee River come in from the north. That's done without anybody having to answer for that. Everything that produces that algae on Lake Okeechobee, everything from the south of Lake Okeechobee, there's nobody that has to go out there and answer for the nutrients that come onto the lake. That's not something that occurs. All of the water that goes to make sure that there's no saltwater intrusion for the aquifers down south that give drinking water to Miami-Dade. All of the things that send water to the stormwater treatment areas or ensure recreation on Lake Okeechobee or ensure irrigation for the agricultural areas south of the lake. Everybody is happy with that status quo who is already getting what they want. And so the truth is, they are in many cases an obstacle to helping our community to say, listen, what can you do to say we're not going to get these discharges on the Treasure Coast of Florida? That means keeping less water on the lake, so we're not letting the lake get to that emergency level. This is what has to happen. Everybody in Florida has to come together and say all parties need to be made whole. And right now, our community is being left behind. The west coast of Florida is being left behind because we are having to bear the entire burden of getting discharges of toxic water coming out of Lake Okeechobee. Now, in that hearing, we didn't hear everything that we wanted to hear, but we're going to keep fighting this hard every single day. And we've heard a lot of things since that hearing on August 17th that have been very positive. Different municipalities calling our offices saying, listen, if we can make sure that we're going to still get the water that we need, we're absolutely for lowering those lake levels. Different municipalities calling us and saying, we absolutely believe that lake levels should be lowered. Those that care about recreation on the lake saying, hey, we think there would be better fishing on Lake Okeechobee if those lake levels were lower, so we want to see that because it benefits them. We've had a lot of different people reaching out about this, so in that, this is the way that we're working on that issue. We're trying to get everybody involved and make them answer. Listen, are you going to care about the toxic water that goes to the east and west coast, or are you not going to? We're going to get you on record in that way, and we're going to make you answer for that. Now, in that, we all know that it's not acceptable for the Treasure Coast to continue to be used as the septic tank for the rest of Florida, and that's what we're fighting. We want to end this crisis once and for all. and to make sure that what happened this past summer and summers before this never happens again. This has been the #1 priority of mine since the moment I entered office on January 3rd, 2017, doing everything that we can to authorize a southern reservoir, get the Kissimmee River restoration completed, raise the Tamiami Trail, get every dollar needed to complete the repairs of the Herbert Hoover Dike, get the Corps of Engineers to lower lake levels and the South Florida Water Management District to agree to lowering lake levels to other places to the south so they're not sending water to the east and west coast. This is what we work on every single day to make sure that the interests of the Treasure Coast of Florida are given equal priority to all of those interests that everybody else is already given priority. Those priorities of irrigation and navigation and recreation and making sure that there's no saltwater intrusion and water for the Everglades. All of those priorities exist. But there's nothing out there where the Corps and the South Florida Water Management District are saying they're taking into concern the needs of the Treasure Coast of Florida and the fact that we are being poisoned. We're being poisoned summer after summer, and this is what we're working on changing. Human safety and the communities east and west of Lake Okeechobee, we're not going to allow them to keep the lake artificially high if it means putting those communities at risk. We cannot, we will not continue to tolerate this mismanagement of Lake Okeechobee. We will not accept these toxic discharges destroying our community summer after summer, year after year, risking the life of every one of your family members, your children, my spouse, my neighbors, everybody that we see on a daily basis around town. We're not going to accept it. That's why this past Tuesday I introduced another bill. The Stop Harmful Discharges Act, very simple name. It's to make public health and public safety, including the prevention of toxic cyanobacteria and the integrity of the Herbert Hoover Dike, the primary project purpose for the management of Lake Okeechobee. There's nobody that should be able to tell our community that recreation is more important than the health of people in our epicenter of population. Nobody that should be able to tell us that irrigation is more important than the health of people, or that somehow the need to put water in stormwater treatment areas is more important than the health of people. There's nobody that should be able to tell us things like this. This bill will give them no choice but to make the public health and safety of the Treasure Coast throughout Florida a priority by literally amending the Army Corps of Engineers project purpose to give them health and safety of communities east and west coast of the lake preference to the rest of Florida for the first time ever. Now on Friday, I also had the opportunity to question the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in a hearing on the need to prioritize health and safety. I secured a commitment from the Corps of Engineers to work with us on adding human health and human safety standard to protect the Treasure Coast and the West Coast from toxic discharge. Now, how did this occur? To talk about this briefly, there is a 1948 document, it's known as a Chief's Report, where it outlines all of the things that are made priorities when we're talking about how they manage the lake and the southern and central projects related to everything that we authorize through the Corps around the lake. They list those priorities that I gave you already. Navigation, irrigation, recreation, the need to put water in aquifers and prevent saltwater intrusion, the need to send water to Everglades. They put in that Chief's Report, which is severely outdated. They put into that those priorities. They didn't put health and safety into that. We're asking them to work on fixing that, updating that, so that health and human safety is a priority. That's an important commitment to go out there and get for them. As I said, we're not going to be ignored any longer. We're not going to tolerate this mismanagement. I'm confident that together we can get the job done for our community, and there has been so much help from each and every one of you around the community. All of you that get on and show what's going on in the community on a weekly basis. You post what's going on Toxic 18. You post what's going on the Bull Sugar website. You post what's going on the Everglades Foundation website and all of these other places. You let people see the impacts of everything that's affecting our community. That matters. That gives me the ammunition that I need here in Washington to go to these agencies and say, How can you turn a blind eye to this? How can you not pay attention to this? How can you allow this to occur year after year, decade after decade? This needs to end. And you documenting that in the community, that's the ammunition that I need so I can put it in front of them in a picture so it's not ambiguous to them. So I encourage you all, keep helping me out. It helps me to be able to do this. I can't do it without you all, so I really appreciate all the assistance on that. Switching gears a little bit. We also made progress this week on education and homeland security fronts. For example, we passed the Empowering Students Through Enhanced Financial Counseling Act. This will ensure that students have the tools that they need to make informed decisions about the financing options available to them for college, such as before they receive a Pell Grant or a federal loan. This bill will also enhance the quality of counseling so that students have a better understanding of what taking on student loans means for their future, for their financial future and their obligations, so that they don't end up with crippling student debt in the future. Now I want to pause and say something. Whenever I have the chance to go into high schools and speak to students, I always make this point when I talk about higher education. One of the greatest things that we have for every person in this country is the opportunity to go out there and serve our country. I loved serving our country, but in serving our country, I was given the access to go out there and have all of my education paid for. So it wasn't free for me. I had to go out there and serve my country, but all of my education would paid for. They paid for every penny for me to go to Harvard University, get a great degree on the GI Bill. That's an opportunity that every one of our young persons have out there. There's no reason that our young people have to go out there and incur student debt. There's great opportunities, and I just want to take that as a moment to say, as all of you young people, you're moving into your senior year of high school, you're thinking about what's going to occur next, what you're going to do moving into the workforce or moving into college. Think about the military. Think about that opportunity to go out there and serve your country, to get a GI Bill, to help with your education benefits, to become a part of that brother and sisterhood that just can't be replicated outside of the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard. For me, it's the greatest decision that I ever made in my life. I always tell people that, if we go back in time and I look at the person that I was before the military and the person that the military made me and my time coming out of the military, it was two completely different people. And it's because of what the military instilled in me. And that's something that I want to see for all of our young people. Now moving on, in addition, we also passed 11 bipartisan homeland and cybersecurity bills. We did that to combat cyber attacks from our adversaries, to fully authorize the bitmap program. This uses biometric and biographic data on certain individuals to identify potential threats. Some more great bills to strengthen information sharing among our intelligence and law enforcement agencies so that they can better protect American citizens, keep our homeland safe. That's pretty much a recap of everything that we did this week and a little bit that we did over the month. As always, it's an honor to serve you here in Congress. I hope to see you around town. I hope that you all have a great weekend, and I look forward to speaking to you all next week. Take care.